in the Florida Everglades is said to be a Bigfoot-like creature known as the skunk ape. An average male stands between 6 to 8 feet tall and weighs somewhere in the region of 450 to 500 pounds, with the females being a little bit smaller. The name was given because of the awful odor it gave off, reminiscent of a burning carcass in the daylight sun, or even its namesake animal, the skunk. It was a disgusting smell, and often the smell was what gave the creature away. Often criticized as just a legend that people who live out in the Everglades use to ward off people from their land. But with every legend, there is an element of truth to it, and this one is no different. It all started with 2 decapitated heads of the Florida black bear. A young woman named Stella recently started a job as a park ranger in the national park here. She just graduated from college, and working with wildlife was always her passion. So spending the day with alligators, hogs, wild turkeys, and even some snakes, just to name a few of the wildlife out here, was a dream come true for her. Mostly her job was guided tours as she worked towards the role of park ranger, but she was curious by nature and often wandered around parts of the national park when it was quiet, hoping to come across something exciting, and one day she was not disappointed. While walking through a bushy section of the Everglades, she got a strange smell, so decided to follow her nose. It led up to a swarm of flies, thousands of them buzzing around something on the ground. As Stella got closer, she could make out black fur through the swarm of flies. She waved around a stick she picked up from the ground, and as the flies started to disperse, she saw that the black fur was in fact 2 mutilated heads from the only 2 black bears they had. In bewilderment to what could have done this, she radioed back to the ranger's station, telling them of what she had seen. When the rangers had arrived, they too had no idea what could have happened and closed off the section of the park until the people better equipped arrived. Over the next few days, Stella continued her walks into the wild, not put off by what she had seen a few days previous. Down where the alligators were, she had a safe spot where she sat and watched them in their natural habitat for hours. It was calming. By the mud banks where the alligators lay in rest came a loud growling noise, followed by another noise. Stella recognized one of them as the noise alligators made when in a fight, so she got herself closer to the scene, but again was hit by that strange and awful odor. Covering her nose, she arrived to where the noise came from, only to be shocked to see the head of an alligator lying there, ripped clean off like the black bears a few days earlier. Over the next week, there had been several killings like this, including deer, hogs, and the feathery carcasses of numerous birds scattered around. The park was closed off to the public until the matter was sorted, with only park rangers left inside. None ventured outside without a rifle and never alone, but what they didn't know was that as they were hunting what was killing the animals, they were also being hunted by the very same thing. Stella was advised to stay behind, but she insisted that she came along. They went out in 2 groups of 5, covering 2 points where the most killings took place. Stella and her group went west, while the others headed just up north from them. Everyone was trepidatious as to what to expect. The biggest animals they had were the ones that were beheaded, and maybe the black panther, but there was no way a panther could have done that. Stella and her group searched the area extensively, finding more dead bodies, but no footprints from whatever killed them. One of the rangers tried to radio a member of the other group to update them, but no one responded. It was just silence on the other end. Suddenly they could hear screams coming from that direction, human screams of fear. They raced up to see what was going on, knowing deep down that whatever killed the animals had got to their comrades. The sight of their friends dismembered made them all stand in fear and shock, but not for too long, as the sudden realization that what had done this, probably watching them right now. That sickening smell was lingering around, which meant the creature wasn't far. The people alive ran back to the nearest base and locked the doors, pondering what their next move was. Outside, there was a rustling through the trees, followed by a strange whoomp sound. Stella aimed her gun out a small gap in the front window, along with another ranger. The other 3 took up the back way and the side of the small hut they were in. There was no sign of the creature, but it could be heard, and worst of all, smelled. It was hiding, waiting for one of them to appear out of safety. An hour passed, and neither side showed itself. It was a game of cat and mouse. Well, it was. Until the creature leaped onto the roof of the hut, causing it to shake uncontrollably, knocking everyone inside to the ground. It then smashed through the roof, dropping to the floor, picking up a ranger and throwing him to the other side before tearing another one apart. The other two and a dazed Stella fired bullets at the creature, weakening it a bit, but they were in too close of a proximity and it grabbed the two men, ripping them to pieces. All that was left was Stella, who looked up at the towering monster, swallowing in fear. She put her gun to her head and her fingers on the trigger. She didn't want to die in the same fashion she had witnessed her friends die in. But as she closed her eyes, about to pull the trigger, everything went silent. She opened them to find that the creature had left. Months later, Stella still gets flashes of that hideous smell every now and again, along with nightmares of the creature. No one has spotted or seen it since. It's like it has disappeared. But whatever happened to the creature, the events that took place out in the Everglades of Florida, haunts the life of Stella for now and forever.